All right, hello everybody, Miss Sackett here. Today we are going to be talking about how to color symmetrical. Because not only do we want our designs to be symmetrical, we need to color symmetrical. And that means it should be the same on both sides of the center line. So you see I've started with green here, to jade, to a mixture of jade and what's this color called? And golden yellow is what Crayola is calling it, and going out. This is going from violet to a mixture of violet and sky blue, back up to sky blue, and this is going from a little bit of white mixed with golden yellow and mixing with the orange. So there's blending going on, and it's on the same on both sides of the center line. Now that being said, let's talk about some things that are not symmetrical. First off, if we look at this first shape, you've got green on one side, red on the other, and then there's a mixture of red and green in the center. If I put a line down the middle, is it the same on both sides? No. It's different, okay? In this one, we've got sky blue on one side, blue on the other. It's not symmetrical. The same with this. We got green on one side and red on the other. Also, this is creating a stripe in the center. It's not blended. This is partially blended, but there's still white showing. But the main thing is it's not symmetrical at whatsoever. So if this one's red, this one needs to be red. If this side's blue, this side's got to be blue. So you want to figure out how it's going to color. Now, this one is just a solid color. That's not color solid. There's lots of white and it's going outside, and I can see the direction, which is what we want to avoid. Now this shape here looks like it's colored symmetrical, but it's not finished. See, it goes from the aqua in the center to a mixture of the violet and the aqua and out to the violet in the sides. Now that's the right idea, but this one is not finished. It's looking stripy because this is still has paper showing through. And when we're blending, we want the colors to blend seamlessly from one to the next with that mixture in between. Mixtures in between. This one is not finished. Now here are some good examples of symmetrical coloring, and when we symmetrical color, what we have to do is we have two options. We can go like this one, from up to down in blending, or we can go from excuse me, the center out, or the out in, up and down or out and in, because you want to keep the sides the same. See, for example, this one, it's going up and down. It's the yellow to the mixture of yellow green, and then yellow green, and then mixture of yellow green and green on the bottom. And this one's going from pink to magenta to violet. It's going from the center out or from the center in, and you want to keep them even on each side. So in this shape, see, it starts with orange on this side, it starts with orange on that side, and then it comes out and mixes with the red. So you want to keep them the same on both sides. And I'm going to do some color examples for you right now. Fortunately, it's also pollen season, so I'm dealing with that a little bit. Okay, so what I have is I have a line down my paper. I'm working from the center out, and that's what you want to do when you're doing your mask. And of course, erase the pencil mark out, and we're outlining our mask, so I have my shapes that I'm going to color already filled in. I mean, not filled in, outlined with the Sharpie marker. Okay, so first I'm going to do an up and down shape, and I think I'm going to do yellow, orange, orange, and red. And it's important that you know what colors you're going to mix. Again, as always, the ones that mix the best are colors that are related or next to each other on the color wheel, because this is a dry medium. This way they will blend seamlessly from one color to the next. All right, I'm going to start with my yellow orange. And remember, your hand does not move. It's a small tool. I'm going to be doing circular movements, not pressing hard, but what I'm going to do is completely cover the paper until I get to the point where I want it to mix with my next color. Then I'm going to apply very light pressure and color fuzzy so that I can mix it with the next color. And now what I'm doing is I'm keeping it even on both sides because I want it to be symmetrical. All right, and then I'm going to pull in some of my orange. Making sure I'm going over top of where my yellow orange was. You notice my hand's not moving. The tool is small, so I'm working small. And this up here is going to be my solid orange. And go back and add some yellow orange because what I want it to do is layer so I can create the illusion of a mixture of the two. And the more closely related colors are, the better they will meet and mix together. Layering with orange again, keeping it even on both sides. So I want it to stay symmetrical. And I keep going, and I'm not pressing real hard, but I'm making sure that I'm completely covering the paper. And I'm going to work up to where I'm going to introduce the red. And again, this one's going up and down when I put the picture in the right direction. And you see I'm working in small circles. I'm not making circles, but what I'm doing is I'm keeping it nice and smooth so that I get the color transition and I don't get stripes. All right, and I'm coloring fuzzy at the top of the orange here because that's where I'm going to mix it with red. I'll give it one more once over with the yellow orange. You see how it's seamlessly changing from yellow orange to straight orange. And now I'm going to, oops, I grabbed red orange. I think do I want red orange? That is the question. Yeah, I guess I will keep it red orange since I got it out. So this will be red orange, not red, which still works because transitions well with orange. And you notice my hand is not moving. I'm going to get down here and I'm keeping it even on both sides to keep it symmetrical. I'm going to mix it with the orange. All right, I'm going to go back in with the orange, do layer orange. And this is also why we want to break our mask down into different shapes, because it's a little easier to fill in smaller shapes than it is really, really large ones to keep it symmetrical and blending and having the colors transition from one to the next seamlessly. Now I can still see some little paper peeking through, so that means it's not solid yet. I'm going to keep building up the colors, especially where I want them to mix here. You don't want it to look like the color is changing on purpose. And remember, the really bright and light colors you got to be careful with so that you don't go too dark or make lines, because then it's hard to get it to blend. Right, let's go back in with some orange. And I'm also keeping it even on the sides, so I want it to stay symmetrical. And just a little bit more red, orange, and then my shape is done. Oops, caught the fan. Marvelous. And that one is from up and down with my blending and keeping it even. I got my colors transitioning smoothly from one to the next. Now I'm going to do a shape from the outside in or the inside out. And this time I'm going to start with violet in the center. And then I'm going to mix it with magenta. Now you need at least 2 colors in each shape. Depending on how big the shape is, you can have more. Like I had 3 in this one. In my mask, I've got some really bigger shapes, and there's room to blend more, because you want to have enough room for the 2 colors to mix and meet and transition from one color to the next. Now the shape is curving, so I'm kind of having my blending curve with it and keeping it even on both sides, because I'm going from the dark to the light out. And I also want to create the blend with the magenta. It's coming. All right, so I'm going to do the magenta on the outside. So this one I'm only doing 2 colors. I'm going to have them mix and meet in the middle. And this time I'm working, instead of going up and down, I'm working on both sides and keeping the sides even. Let's do another layer of violet. Get it to mix with the magenta a little bit. Another layer of magenta, so we get it to mix with the violet. I'm going with the violet again, so I want this to transition smoothly. And one more time with the magenta, just to get a good mix. Get any little spots I missed. And there we go. We have a mixture that went from the center out on both sides, keeping them even so you have the same amount of color on each side so that it is symmetrical. Now, last but not least, I'm going to do two sides. These are shapes that aren't in the center, and I got to keep the colors symmetrical. So I'm going to do a little bit on both sides. So I think I'm going to start with golden yellow. Little solid in the corner, little solid over here. And I'm going to get it fuzzy. Remember, you got to watch out with yellows so that they transition smoothly. And I'm doing a little bit on both sides, and I want to keep the sides the same distance away from the center. Adding a little yellow green, going beyond the yellow a little bit, mix, go back to the other side. And what I'm wanting to keep is where I'm going with the color even, the same distance from the center on each side. So that's why I'm doing a little bit, and I'm not doing the whole shape all at once. All right, go back with some yellow. Yellow green again. Working on both sides, keeping those sides even. You want them to be pretty close in distance away so that you keep your design symmetrical. And get some fuzzy going again so that I can meet up with green. Keeping the sides even. Gonna give it a little shot of yellow again before I move on to my next mixture. All right, and then green is going to be at the edges, so I'm going to start out here where it's going to be solid. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Then I'm going to make it fuzzy so that I can start to mix with the yellow-green. Keeping the distance the same. All right, I'm going to go back with the yellow-green. Oops, pull the green in here a little bit. Alright, do another layer of yellow-green, mixing it with the green Also getting that edge where it's just yellow, green, solid, slowly building out so that I keep them even. And you really want to do the both sides at the same time, because you do not want to come in the next day and forget and end up with two shapes that are totally different colors. I've seen it happen. So that's also another good reason why you want to do both sides at once, besides keeping it even and symmetrical, so that you don't forget and come in and do a totally different color and then try and figure out a solution for it. You don't want to have to do that. I'm going to add a little bit more green. And then my blend should be done. And it's seamlessly transitioning from one color to the next. It's not looking stripy, it's built up to solid. And it's even on both sides to keep it symmetrical. And there you go. That's the different ways you're going to do it depending on what's on your mask. You want to make sure that you're keeping things even. And so that when you have bigger shapes, you can have more color transitions, but you definitely want to make sure that you're doing both sides together at the same time and keeping everything symmetrical. So that's how you color symmetrical. Blending is a review. You already know how to do that. And now you know the different ways that you can keep your coloring symmetrical.